Hello people of the internet, welcome to another devlog of my game Terravox. It's been quite a while since last devlog again, and that is because I've been working on my lighting system and it's pretty much done now. But the only problem is every time you break or place a block it's very slow. I was working on fixing that, but it just got me very frustrated because of compute shaders being difficult and stuff. But yeah, I took a bit of a break from that, but now I've come back to working on the game, and I have, like, for now I've got a new focus. I want to make the game into an actual sort of playable game. So as you can see, I've got a health bar. I'll talk about the lighting system more later. But for now I'll show you the progress I've made on the other things. So the first thing is, of course, the health bar. You see it can go up and down. If I would go up to this tower that I made and jump off it, you can see it goes down a bit, and that is because I took fall damage. And among health, there are also a bunch of other stats. We've got these stats. These are the player stats, and these are saved per character. So this is the max health you can have. This is the strength. This is the run speed, jump speed, recovery speed. Well, the max health is pretty straightforward. That is how much health you can have. Well, you can upgrade it by finding items that you can upgrade it with. Well, that's the plan, at least, not yet. Then you have strength. My idea for that is basically a multiplier for the amount of damage you do with melee weapons and maybe how far you can throw spears and stuff. Then you have run speed. That one is pretty straightforward. That is just a multiplier that multiplies the speed by that whenever you run. Then you've got jump speed. That is basically how high you can jump. So currently is this. And then you've got recovery speed, and that is basically if we go up here and we take some damage, you can see that it's slowly recovering. And recovery speed 1 is this. Of course, it can go faster with a hidden stat, which is calculated every frame. Currently, if I want to activate it, I just press H, and this is basically the effect that happens if you would drink a healing potion. So you can see my health goes higher a lot faster, but it wears off, so now it's like slower, normal again. And I've got the same thing with the run speed and the jump speed and just like speed in general, because this includes the walk speed as well. I've got a hidden stat called mobility that is also calculated every frame, and currently it's just on 1. It multiplies everything by 1, the walk speed, the run speed, the jump speed. But if I would, for example, hold an item, then it's slightly slower. It's very difficult to see because it's a small difference. But to make it easier for you to see, I've made it so that when I hold this flower, my mobility goes up a bit. So you can see I'm a lot faster now. I can jump a lot higher. But if I hold nothing, I'm just normal speed. But now I can jump a lot higher and go a lot faster. So yeah. The point of these stats, these ones, is basically to sort of upgrade your character through the game by like finding items that you can upgrade your stats with, or like every time you kill like a special kind of mob or something. I don't know, I'll figure something out for that. But the point is to make them basically higher over the span of the game, and the game will become also more difficult to account with that. And also like when you die, this is kind of topic, but you'll see in a minute where I'm going with this. Whenever you die, you still keep your inventory. The reason I've done that is because when you're, for example, playing Minecraft, every time you die, you like lose your items, and then you have to go back to the place you died to gather your items. And I think the potential problem with that is you have to go back to the place you died with potentially, probably worse gear, right? So that makes the chance that you will die there again higher, and it will just be very frustrating and annoying. Most just like annoying to go back to the place you die every time. So what I've done to balance it out is I've made it so that you keep your inventory, so that's not that frustrating. But to balance out dying, I've made it so that you respawn, obviously, to the spawn point. And I intend to make it very hard in the game to say your spawn to a certain location. It will be an expensive consumable item I'm thinking about. But also, on top of that, as you can see, my stats, these are my stats. But when I would die, now I'm dead, and respawn, you can see that my stats are slightly worse. And currently you don't really feel that in the game. But if I would, for example, die and respawn like a bunch of times, I've done it like a lot of times, you can see everything is basically at the worst it can be. Like they can't get much lower than this. And as you can see, like I am moving like a lot slower now, and it's a lot more difficult and annoying to jump over blocks. If I'm holding like this, I can't even jump over blocks because it's making my mobility worse. With the flower I can though. With the flower with the bad settings, I'm sort of back to the original again. But yeah, you can see it's like very annoying. But you know, that's the penalty for like dying, or at least dying a bunch of times. Because per death it won't really matter that much, because it only decreases them by a small amount. It's still like something you want to avoid, obviously, because you want the stats to be higher over the course of the game so that you can actually defeat like harder bosses or something, or you know, that kind of stuff. Also, if I go like up and die again due to fall damage, right, you can see it says I died due to fall damage. If I would respawn and I would just press like what I currently have as the debug kill bind, I died due to myself. So yeah, I added the respawn messages as well. Also, I forgot to mention, like in the earlier builds of my game, the gravity equation was kind of broken, because after a certain speed it won't like really accelerate much. Now it's fixed, so it's realistic. Alrighty, now I want to show you the problems I had with the lighting and how I fixed them. So the first issue, as you can see, is that on corners of chunks, the lighting doesn't fully go there, and that is because the chunk basically calculates the lighting for all its neighbors isolated before it calculates its own lighting so that it works across chunks. The reason that doesn't work with diagonals is because I was only doing like the borders that were actually touching the chunks, but I've added the diagonals now, which has another problem of making it very, very slow, but the lighting is now consistent. The other problem I had is a bit more complicated. As you can see, sometimes there are these weird black areas that don't make sense, like they shouldn't be black. And basically how that works is, in the old version, the chunks basically finish themselves on chunk borders. So imagine you have one chunk with blocks a certain height and then another chunk with blocks on another height, then like there would be a gap between the chunks which need to be filled in as well. So in the old system, the chunks just filled up their own lacking blocks basically. So the faces that would face towards the other chunk. The only problem with that is if the light source is in the chunk and it's dark, it only has like context of the light in that chunk. But for the faces that are pointed outwards, it needs context of the lighting in other chunks, which isn't there because I want to save RAM. That's basically why it calculates it per chunk, like a lot of chunks. But anyway, how I fix that is instead of having a chunk finish its own block, I have basically the chunks finishing the blocks of the other chunks so that I can still be lit with the information that's in that chunk. So yeah, I basically sort of inverted the fix for chunk borders. But yeah, that's about it for this devlog. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you another time.